If you haven't met me before, my name's Luke, and this is my ever-changing YouTube channel where I practice mostly film and a bit of photography, and overall don't really know what I'm doing, and I record that process and show strangers on the internet. To those who do know me, welcome back to the June video. This marks the halfway point of this year, where I committed to make and upload one video every month for 12 months. So this is pretty exciting. So I wasn't very happy with my video last month, and I put that down to 3 reasons. 1, I didn't define the topic of the video enough, but I addressed that in the video. 2, I didn't do enough research on the topic of the task, which was product photography. So there was a lot of friction and frustration, and the process wasn't that fun. Lastly, I left the filming way too late in the month, so by the time I decided that I might want to change the topic and do something totally different, it was too late, and I did have that commitment to make the video before the month finished. So this month I'm getting onto the video as soon as I can, and I'm going to be a little bit more prepared this time. Now, I do have a bit to say about the topic of this video, but to help you get the information that you came here for, I'm going to add timestamps. The video is going to be structured like this. I'll talk first about why I chose self-portrait photography as the topic for this month's video and why it's going to be a really big challenge for me. Next, I'll be doing my research and preparation, deciding where I'm going to be shooting, how I plan on tackling this as a project. After that will be the actual photography shooting, and I'll try and film that process as best as I can. And lastly, I'll be editing the photos, keeping my fingers crossed that I actually get something that is okay. So if you're only after one of these particular things that you want to see, feel free to jump ahead to the timestamps on the screen. Okay, so the reason I've decided to try self-portrait photography for this month is for one main reason, and that is that it makes me very uncomfortable. I'm a very self-critical person, and I've always hated having my photographs taken. I'm not comfortable in front of cameras. Believe it or not, this is taking a lot of practice for me. If I'm out and someone says that they're going to take a photo, I kind of instantly panic, and I sit there and I adjust my hair and I think about what my facial expression is going to look like, and it ends up just being a really uncomfortable process, and it definitely shows through in the photo. I'd like to think I'm not alone in this. I know if I look back on a photo and I remember being very uncomfortable at the time, I can just see it on my face. I hate that I do this, but if I don't address it, it's never really going to go away. Due to the fact that I am not established in any particular field within film or photography, I'm not a product photographer, I don't do commercial interviews, I don't really have a thing or a niche. All I feel I can do at the moment is just try a bunch of different things and see if any of them actually interest me and get me more excited than the others. I think that would be a good indication that it's something that I should put more time into. At the moment, I haven't found that yet, so I'm still trying. This does tie in with the whole topic of self-portrait photography, because at the moment, as I'm not marketing myself towards a particular skill or niche, I'm kind of just marketing myself as a whole. I guess I'm a solo person creating something, so I'm my own marketing team. Basically, my face is my brand currently. I don't have anything else to market, so I think it's really important for me to be able to market myself effectively, and I think it's going to be very important to develop the skills to capture myself visually if I'm working with visual means like film. So that's a really long way of basically saying I want to get better at photographing and videoing myself, because that's what I see myself doing over the next while. As a final point, I'd also like to mention that I've only ever done portrait photography once, and that was with my younger brother last year when I went back to Australia before I officially moved here to England. Sam's the easiest person to work with. I'm obviously very comfortable around him because he's my brother. We basically just spent the whole day being stupid. And it was really fun. I think I got some okay ones too, so there was some benefit to the day, aside from just having a great time. fortunately for me, as a long-time YouTube watcher, I already have a number of channels that I have been watching that I know touch on a lot of self-portrait photography work, and I think they're going to be very important in me developing a strategy to tackle this project this month. Evan Ranft, who I mentioned last video, Sorel Amor, Pierre T. Lambert, T. Went does a good video, Mango Street, there's definitely a few others that I can't remember the names of right now. My plan is to just trawl through their videos and try and pick up as many tips as I can. It's funny because I've managed to just justify watching a bunch of YouTube videos as research, but I guess that's exactly what I'm doing. To keep myself on track and take this research a little bit further, I'm splitting my video watching up into 2 topics. One will be about the technical side of photography, so the composition, using the interval timer on the camera or the mobile phone as a remote control. The other side of it will be the posing or the modeling side, and that's something I'm very uncomfortable with, so that one is probably more important. So as part of the preparation for this, I've now seen a few modeling videos, specifically ones that have male models, just because I think guys do model differently to women, obviously. To get started with the whole modeling posing thing, for me, what I think I need to do is take some time to just shoot myself, not caring about the actual quality of the photo, but just see which poses I like of myself. Because I don't know how to model, I've never done it before, I think I'm really bad at it because I'm so self-conscious and tense, and it's just not an easy process for me. So before I go out to a location and start shooting myself, I'd like to have an idea in my mind of maybe just 3 or 4 poses that I've seen myself do that don't suck. Basically, that's my plan. The last few days I've spent doing research on YouTube about which types of photography I want to do, and just a whole range of how to do model posing, how to take your own photo, all that sort of stuff. I have to admit that quite quickly I became pretty overwhelmed with what to do. There's so many different types of portrait style photography that I was coming across. There was like nature backdrop sort of landscape portrait photography, outdoor photography, urban street portrait photography, studio photography, and I very quickly got overwhelmed with what direction to take with this episode and practice. So I was a bit disheartened with it yesterday, and I just didn't really want to do any photography. So to combat this feeling of not wanting to do it and that it was too hard, I decided to just change direction and see if I could narrow down what type of photography to do so I didn't feel overwhelmed. And I looked up some videos about doing one light studio photography because that's all I have at the moment, and there was a lot of really good resources online. One video in particular that stood out to me was from DoD Media. The video was ridiculously straightforward. He just used one light and a white backdrop to take a photo, and it looked really good. So I think that's what I'll be trying today. I think it's going to be a lot easier than what I sort of had ideas for in my mind, at least as a starting point, until I gain a bit more momentum for the month and I can take more photos so I end up with a better project overall. I'll grab the camera and show you the setup. For this particular shoot, I'm just going to be focusing on close-ups and using the light. I'm going to just try it in different spots and see what different effects we get. At the moment, it's at 10% power, so it's the lowest output the light can do, and I've tried to black out the room as best as I can. I also spent a bit of time this morning trying to sort out my phone to work with the Canon camera, so I should be able to use this as a remote and just try the shooting that way. So I'm going to bring the camera a little bit closer to me and let's see what type of photos we can get from this one. So I'm just getting done with the edit, or the first intro part, and now that's done I need to start thinking about what I'm going to do next. The photos before were close-ups. To mix it up and test myself a little bit, I'm going to try doing more medium to full body shots, and I think I'm going to try and do that somewhere where I can create a bit more interest in the background. So at the moment I guess I'm just brainstorming some places where I've been before that I think could look good. There's a wooded area near the house. I'm also going to spend a bit more time on YouTube seeing if I can watch any other videos that can give me some creative ideas of where to shoot and also how to do this outdoors. Today's going to be the first day I'm actually heading outside to do some outdoor self-portrait photography, so I think it's going to be pretty good today. If the rain can hold off, I'm just going to pack my bag and we'll head out. So this is Perfect Common. This is where I shot the product photography video with the bag. One of the tips I came across was to look for a composition that would be nice just as a photo on its own without any subject, and then add the subject, myself, into the photo. It's also pretty muggy today, and I'm definitely regretting my decision to wear jeans. To get some contrast between the environment and me, I don't think this colored shirt is going to be enough. So I've got a checkered shirt I'll just throw on for the photos, and that should hopefully make me stand out from the background a little bit more, which is obviously what I want to do if I'm taking my own picture. Well, just as I stood up before, I've turned and I've looked around here and the scene looks pretty nice. I think this composition looks okay, so I'm just going to try and find a composition that works, probably in the portrait orientation, and then I'll throw myself into that picture and see if we can get something from here. Construction and planes was not what I expected when I was filming in a nice quiet woodland area, but what can you do? This has turned out to be pretty enjoyable so far. There's a fallen tree over there which looks awesome, and there's some good light coming through. The sun's finally gone behind some clouds, so it's not as bright and patchy, so I think this is going to be better. This is enjoyable. Didn't think I'd say that about self-portrait photography. Well, as I'm sure you can tell, the sun stayed out and the clouds are disappearing. I will move on, see what else I can find. Also, my phone's running out of power, so I think I'm not going to be able to do too many more photos. Okay, let's do this. So my initial plan was to take you along the editing process just a little bit to show you the kind of things I tweak during the editing, but I think that's going to be ridiculously boring and the episode's getting pretty long. Over the last year, I guess I've come up with a beginning style of the type of photos I like. I know that I like to bring the blacks up to give them a sort of faded grey look that is, I think, more common in film photography. That's one thing I like, and that's really all I know about it. I do that, and then I just tweak all the settings and try and get a photo look that I like. I'll then save that as a temporary preset and I'll put it on the rest of my photos. That's pretty simple actually. It's really straightforward. I might do a video later on as far as my culling and selecting process goes, but that's pretty straightforward and I'm not going to bore you with that today. So it's still been a fun experience. I actually enjoyed some of the self-portrait photography, which I didn't think I would. I kind of already feel a bit more confident in front of the camera, which is important because that's what I was going for. Yeah, this has been a decent process, and if you're on the fence about trying something like this, I'd highly recommend doing it. If you find there are times that you feel a bit of resistance and you don't want to do it, it's definitely worth pushing forward and just going for it. Even if you don't get any good photos, it's still a learning experience, and that is a good thing in the long run. I'll wrap the video up here. Thanks very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.